As the legend of Monkey Island approaches, tons more details have been revealed. These are the biggest tales we've ever gotten. Alright, we have got another article to read through. This one was released on the Xbox Wire page, and it gives us some brand new images, but also a lot of information, and my goodness, they have overhauled a lot of systems, and it's going to be big. This new series of Tall Tales is going to be big. So we'll take a look at the images at the end, but first, let's just go through the article. Alright, we'll skip over the intro because that's not got anything important in it. So on to the questions. You already told us that this would draw inspiration from existing stories from the Monkey Island universe, and how it takes some cues from the Curse of Monkey Island. But can you tell us about the tales we'll actually be playing? We wanted to approach a what-if question. What if the characters from Monkey Island discovered the Sea of Thieves world? It felt like what the two had in common was something that's at the very heart of Monkey Island. Guybrush starts his journey as a pirate wannabe, and of course in Sea of Thieves, you play as yourself. You create your pirate and you go on a journey to become a pirate legend. So, in the Sea of Thieves, Guybrush can be the legend he's always wanted to be. So what if that was at the heart of our story? What if the Sea of Thieves could give Guybrush everything he ever wanted? And as part of our storytelling, it's also the Achilles heel of Guybrush. We built that into our story. LeChuck has come to the Sea of Thieves, and he's used its unique magic to create this fantasy for Guybrush, where he is the legend he's always wanted to be, and through that power, he's quarantined him off in the Sea of the Damned. But, in classic Sea of Thieves style, you'll go knock some sense into Guybrush. This is an opportunity for players to unravel a mystery of Guybrush's fate, and how LeChuck is using the magic of Sea of Thieves to imprison him. We take players to iconic locations like Melee Island, seeing the island in its entirety, but also visit the fabled Monkey Island itself. It's one thing to recreate those locations inside your game, but the tone of Monkey Island is so distinct. How did you make it feel right in such a new context? This was such a critical part. Just imagine the amount of time you spend interacting with characters in those original games. Nailing that was so important. It was important to us to create a space for where these characters could have these key moments, really trying to give each one a moment to shine. Critically, it's not just featuring characters for the sake of it. If a character is going to appear in our tales, they need to have a place as part of the story. So even though we largely take inspiration from the first two Monkey Island games, a key exception, an example of that idea, is the character of Murray. It felt like the idea of a talking skull. We've done that before in Sea of Thieves, so we knew we had to have Murray in there. I spent a lot of time thinking about what the right set piece for Murray is, and he has an amazing opportunity to shine in the very first tale, where you'll get to interact with him directly. The kind of gameplay that you'll go through with Murray is just a lot of fun. As you've said, the versions of Monkey and Melee Island will be exploring a fantasies created by LeChuck, but are they faithful to how players remember them? I'm sure it's come across, but the amount of focus we've put into making those iconic locations feel faithful was huge. What we always did as part of our process was to, when you walk to a location in 3D, always try and position the camera in exactly the same position as it was in the original point-and-click games, inviting players to do that one-to-one comparison. Players may find that in certain key locations, if you position your camera where it was in the original games, there are these hidden positions where you can hear a memory of Guybrush or Elaine narrating what happened at that moment in the original story. There's an optional objective to go find all these hidden memories positions around the island. If players find those hidden memory spots, they'll get Monkey Island themed pictures that they can hang on their ship as a reward. Alright, short break there. Yes, that's great. We know the rewards are now for 100%ing the tall tale, basically. It's nice that they're going down the route of captaincy trinkets. That being said, in the general store from yesterday's guided tour of Melee Island, we saw captaincy trinkets in the background. We know there's captaincy trinkets in the Pirate Emporium. So, how many captaincy trinkets are they going to have? But yeah, they've basically revealed at least part of how you're going to 100% the tale. You pulled a similar trick when you created an explorable version of the original Pirates of the Caribbean attraction in A Pirate's Life. But this seems like a far bigger version of that. How did that compare? That creative challenge of taking the Isla Tesoro town that you see on the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction and trying to deliver that fantasy of what if you got out of the little boats that you ride and explored was obviously a thrill in of itself because of how ironic the location is. But that was in 3D. The whole way you've interacted with Monkey Island before is typically on a 2D plane, and you're pointing and clicking. how do we reimagine that as a first-person experience? How do we give you the sense that these places feel lived in, and you not only see the pieces that you saw in the original games, but all the bits that you didn't always see? What would my perspective be if I could move that camera and was looking at the 2D scene and move it into the corner of the scum bar? And if we did that, would it still live up to the imaginations of fans over the years? Living up to the expectations of as many players as possible has been a really interesting creative challenge. We've talked a lot about the story and the locations, but will the gameplay here differ from classic Sea of Thieves 2? Is this a Sea of Thieves take on point and click? We had a great opportunity with Legend of Monkey Island to really rethink character interactions. In the past, we've had fully voiced cutscenes, but when you talk to NPCs in the game itself, you'd just be reading text on screen. In Legend of Monkey Island, all of the interactions with characters are fully voiced, and there's more of a back and forth in terms of the questions you'll ask them and what they say back, creating engaging conversations with the NPCs. It was also important to us to lean into the puzzle gameplay often seen within the Monkey Island series. What's great about Sea of Thieves is it's already quite a physical world where you interact with physical items in quite a tangible way. It gave us an opportunity to say, here's item A, and then you go and find item B, and then you can combine them, which gives you a new way to interact with the world. Using items and knowledge from NPCs means there's a lot of focus on that physical puzzle solving with items in the world. Of course, there are also action set pieces where you'd want them, meaning we still have these kind of climactic moments within the tales, but the core structure of the tales is built around really playful interactions with objects and mechanics in the world. The mechanics we've created for Legend of Monkey Island will share technology forward to the main sandbox. We've overhauled our NPC dialogue system, so we can now have fully voiced characters, and there's now AI pathing for NPC characters, so characters can move around in the world freely, operating under their own brain. There's little mechanical elements as well, like we've added zip lines to these Monkey Island tales, which I'd love to see make their way to the shared world. Okay, that's huge. That is phenomenal. This, again, is leaning into the whole open world idea, like single player game. They're really leaning towards that more type of thing, you know, being instant and overhauling their NPC dialogue system. That's amazing that they'll walk around, as he said, with their own brain. There'll be back and forth conversations. There will be no reading text off a screen. It'll be fully voiced. I've said it for a long time now. Why, when you become Pirate Legend, at minimum, when you accept the Shanty of Flame, when you get the Blessing of Athena's Fortune Dex area unlocked, why isn't that voiced? You were doing voice lines at the time of Season 8, you're obviously working on it, so why didn't you just get it done there? Like, it's such a cool moment that's not voiced. I don't understand why it's not voiced, but that's awesome. The whole idea and ethos that they're going for with these is amazing. The gameplay, what they've said about the puzzles, it's just stunning. I cannot wait to see this come to the game, and the mechanics and the technologies make their way to the main game. Alright, Monkey Island, particularly the first game, is famously tricky with some of its puzzles. How far towards rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle have you gone with your own? That's a great question. We wanted to strike a balance of feeling faithful to the feel of Monkey Island, but still be respectful of the fact that this is a first-person experience, so the gameplay's more visceral. As a result, it's a little more immediate, so we still want those mental leaps that players can make to solve puzzles and then feel great having done it, but we've tried to make these puzzles feel as relatable as possible. And because it takes place in Sea of Thieves, how you relate to the items and what they feel like could be used for is familiar. You've also got the Tall Tale book, which is obviously a consistent point across all the Tall Tales, so we use that to give players additional information. It's almost like a hint book that you're taking with you, which gives you little pointers. We also do things in point and click style. There isn't an interaction in our game to look at something, but in Monkey Island that was used to give players additional context. In Legend of Monkey Island, when you approach something, sometimes you'll see tooltip text, not giving you the solution, but setting up a solution. There's one mechanic I think a lot of people are going to ask about. Is insult sword fighting in here? That was one of the first questions we asked when deciding you'd be able to explore the full Melee Island. It felt like something as iconic as insult sword fighting, we had to do it. But I think it also adds a new puzzle element to combat in Sea of Thieves, which works really nicely. So I got really excited about the idea of including insult sword fighting, because it allows you to have those more visceral moments. Because it's in first person, you're fighting your opponent directly, but it's also more accessible because the bulk of flow of combat is handled through the quips and retorts, and how you build up that knowledge of the insults. What really comes through to me is that you seem just as excited about putting these locations into your game as you are about telling this story. Do you think players will be spending as much time exploring what you've built as they will going on this journey? What really excites me is that once you activate the tails and once you sail through the tunnels of the damned, you're straight on Melee Island. I can't wait to see our community use the church to stage their mock weddings, or just spend time together, sitting down on the seats in the scum bar drinking grog. I think it's going to be fun for players to just go back to, and because there are these freeform locations, just spend time there with their friends, even if you're not immediately pushing the tail forward. I think there's real opportunity there with the way that Sea of Thieves is played. Sea of Thieves: The Legend of Monkey Island will be released as 3 free monthly updates beginning on July 20th. Alright, now I'm aware the video is getting very long, so I'm going to get through these images as quickly as possible. There's one main one that I want to take a look at. So, the first one, the Voodoo Lady, we can see her mystical pot. Not too much to see here, we can see her model in game for the first time. Looks awesome, love the area. We can see a very cinematic look of the Melee Island town in this image. We can see some lonesome pirates towards the left, and forgive me Monkey Island fans, I don't know the name of the character with the map. Oh no, that's the map. Is that Wally? That might be Wally, because he's got the maps in his thing. Let me know in the comments below. But no, this looks stunning. Love how it looks like night. You can't really tell it's the Sea of the Damned. If you showed me that, I'd just think it's night in the Sea of Thieves. That's really, really good. We have Guybrush Threepwood in his mansion. We can see the giant captaincy trinket. Hopefully we get that for our boat. I don't see why we won't. We can see Guybrush's model again there. We've already seen inside the mansion though. We can see the dogs here. These dogs are going to be made available in the Pirate Emporium. So again, we've seen these before, but it's a nice little key image. The next image, we can see a group of pirates at lookout point looking with the lookout. God, that's a lot of looks. Looks pretty cool there. Nothing too special. The main image I wanted to get onto is this one here. For those of you who don't know, this is Captain Kate Capsize, a character from the Monkey Island series. And Sea of Thieves have teased that we're going to be helping track down Guybrush Threepwood, as heard in the article, so it appears that this is where we're going to be starting the tale, because this is on sand. It looks like it's in the normal world, and we can see in the background Wanted Guybrush Threepwood. It's a nice small shack, so presumably this will be next to the castaway. This is very, very exciting. This is where we're going to be starting all 3 tales on every outpost, teaming up with her, or she's enlisting our help to track down Guybrush. So she's come to the Sea of Thieves, presumably wanting to know where Guybrush is to rescue him, maybe. I don't know. If there are any Monkey Island lore heads watching and you have any idea why she might be here other than what I've just said, if there's some in Monkey Island lore explanation, please do let me know. I don't know all the Monkey Island lore. Don't get mad at me. I've done my best, alright? That does just about bring us to the end of the video. I know it's been a long one. Thank you all so much for sticking around until the end if you made it this far. Let me know what you think of all this down in the comments below. Are you excited for the brand new NPC dialogue system overhaul and actually seeing them walking around for once? Personally, I think Port Merrick could really use with whatever systems they're developing at the moment. It sounds awesome. And what do you think of the new quest vendor that we're going to be starting every tale at? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, then please do consider leaving a like. It really helps out the channel an absolute ton. And subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest Sea of Thieves news as and when it comes out. And while you're at it, why not hit the bell as well so you never miss a single upload. Tomorrow is going to be an absolutely huge day. Even though it's just the first tale, there's going to be so much to explore and so much to cover. So you definitely don't want to miss any of that. Anyways, apart from all that, thanks for watching and I'll see you later.